Now, when you're doing this, this example is a fairly simple example, even though I'm using some recursion here, which can tend to cause some confusion. But think about these algorithms possibly being bigger than this. Maybe you have a method that does a lot of things that are very, very similar, and you want to replace some pieces of it. Let's talk about an example of opening and closing files, which nobody ever does right. And in Java 7, they now have this thing called try with resources, which will automatically close files for you. But let's run through a little example where we want to do file closing right. So I'm going to start off with file example. Now let's take a look at what happens when you deal with a file. So let's do a file writer. We'll just write to a text file there. We'll wrap it in a print writer. Anyone know what pattern this is using here? Any ideas? It's called the decorator pattern. We're wrapping a decorator around an existing thing. They both have almost identical interfaces on them. And if it's the exact same interface, it's a standard decorator. What we're doing is we're decorating it so that we can make some modifications before it actually writes to the file. Because instead of just writing to the file directly, we're going to go through this print writer who automatically adds new lines when we say println. Okay. Now there's a little exception on this guy, so I'm just going to throw a throws declaration on here for a minute. By the way, never, ever, ever, ever do this outside of an example. Because if you do that, you lose all control of exceptions in your app. You always want to, at very least, at the top of your application, catch and report. Okay. So now we got our print writer there. I'm going to say pw